What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today is a special and exciting day for me, and that is because I finally get to try out the new Sola frames. I've had a lot of you guys telling me I should probably give them a shot because I do a lot of park coping, bowl skating. I actually was at a Tuesday night skate the other night here in the Portland area, and a buddy there was nice enough, he just actually got these, and he was nice enough to lend them to me so I could just give them a shot and see if I like them before I slap down, you know, all of almost $200 on them. I mean, they look super ill. They don't feel too much heavier. I'd say they're probably, I don't know, a few grams heavier than the Wish frames. They feel solid. So the cool thing about these, when I was taking off the Wish frames, that I noticed is how thin these sidewalls are on these frames here. They don't even fill out the UFS groove in the boot right here. They're, I don't know, a few millimeters shy of filling them out on both sides. So really, on a narrow boot like the M12 that I like to skate, it's giving me, you know, a few more millimeters, actually more than a few millimeters, because the Wish frames kind of come out a little bit this way at the top, or at the bottom, and kind of hang over actually the sole plate a little bit, which takes away that sole space for me. Really excited to see if that actually makes any difference on these skates. If it does, that's going to be a huge plus for me because I love these boots, but you know, all plastic frames are a bit wide in the sidewall. The other really sweet thing that I just noticed about these by putting them on my skate is they are race axle style. Because they are aluminum frame, they don't need the side. They don't need two sides of the bolt. There's only one side to screw in. So you don't need two Allen keys to be taking on and off your wheels, which is super quick, super fast, super nice. Love it that these frames have that, because it just makes them easier, so much easier to switch out wheels and switch out the frames if you want to, so much faster, just like an urban or free skate setup. The H-block I'm rocking right now is the aluminum H-block. I'm not sure if he had the plastic one. If I did get these, I'm not going to be getting the plastic H-block. I would be getting the aluminum one, is what I'm thinking, because I don't skate really any, you know, street or whatnot, and from what I've heard, this aluminum H-block slides really well, actually better than the Sola aluminum on metal coping and metal angle iron. Yeah, the length, the wheel down length, can't remember. I think it's just shy of my Wish frames, but definitely a bit longer than stock Oysi frames, just by a tad. They fit up to a 60 millimeter flat setup, so you can have four 60 millimeter wheels all down to the ground. Super excited to test these bad boys out. It's been almost a year now since they've been out, and I just haven't had the guts to drop that few $100 just on a hope that I'll like them. Yeah, just super stoked. I'm gonna throw these on and let's get to testing them out. Man, it's been such a nice week. I've been so lucky that I had this nice weather, nobody at the parks to do these test rolls on these new Sola frames. My first test session was at the Tiger Skate Park, which you just saw some clips from. I chose that place mainly because it was a bunch of bigger ramps, pumping, coping, stuff that I feel like I would be using these more for. But then after I skated that park, I really started questioning what these were gonna feel like on angle iron. So I quickly decided, instead of just showing you guys this one-sided park, I guess, would be to go to another park, which is my home Reedville Park, which is just covered in angle iron. That's all there is to grind, pretty much. So let's go check that out now. Man, those sessions were a ton of fun. I am a big fan of these frames so far, but are they worth 180 bucks? And am I gonna get them in replacement for my Wish frames? And who are they for? Well, let's find out now. So let's start off with the pros. First up, because they are aluminum, they have a great narrow sidewall. This is really important for me because I get back those few millimeters of important space for my sole plate for locking onto grinds. If you skate narrow boots or have a small sole plate like the M12s, these are a great frame to counteract that small sole space. The second nice to have, because they are aluminum frames, they have race axles. This means you only have to have one Allen key to actually take on and off your wheels because they don't have bolts on both sides of the frame holding your wheels on. The axle's actually screwing straight into the frame. You can find this on a bunch of other aluminum frames, more in the urban fitness skating realm. I just love having race axles because it just makes taking your wheels off for bearing cleaning, switching wheels out, trading out frame setups on skates, just such a breeze. So one of the big features that I personally like about these frames is because they are aluminum, they are super rigid. And what that transfer to is great power transfer. So when you're actually turning or carving on ramps or pumping down bowls and stuff, all of that pressure and momentum that you're building up in your body and transferring through your feet is going straight into your wheels into the ground, and you're not losing any of that transfer. So when you're pushing off or skating or pumping bowls, it just feels great. It's just such a solid frame. You just don't get that kind of solid feeling with a plastic frame under your foot. The next pro is the fact that I think these things have some of the best H-block shape out of the factory. This is really important for an aluminum frame, mainly because you're not going to be grinding that H-block down nearly as fast or as much as a plastic frame. You have to have an H-block out of the factory that you absolutely love. The reason I like the H-block so much is because on round rails like coping or handrails or just, round rails period, the shape of it is like the perfect shape of the roundness of that rail. So when you lock onto something, you can feel it like you're not going anywhere. It's like, really feels like a lock, like you lock your sole on a rail or ledge. it really feels locked into that position when you're doing like royales and front sides or back sides or whatnot. This is in stark contrast to my wish frames. My wish frames are very sloppy. You can slide forward, backward, side, side. I mean, these H blocks are probably my favorite H blocks I've skated on. The next pro for these frames is the fact that they slide on metal surfaces with zero wax. Obviously, this is kind of something that I expected or hoped for these frames as kind of a big selling point, because just the idea of skateboarders with their metal trucks don't need to wax stuff up to slide it. So I was hoping the fact that a metal frame for skates would act kind of the same way. And they do. They do pretty decently. I actually, after skating for a while, was liking having to skate without any wax. One, because I don't have to go and wax stuff up. I can just go skate whatever, and I know how it's gonna slide. That being said, it doesn't slide great. It's not like a waxed rail and you're just gonna get on it and just go. You have to put in effort. It's a grind. It's hard to explain. It's a different feeling, but I like that feeling. I know the amount of speed I need to take into coping, rails, ledges, all that stuff that's metal. No matter where I go, it's all the same. It's not like I'm gonna hit something, either stick or slide like crazy. It's very predictable after you get used to it. What happens is you can hit stuff slow and just slide a little bit just to get a little bit of feel on it. You're always gonna slide, you're not just gonna stick and shoot. But then when you really wanna get some good sliding going, you do have to get some speed rolling behind that slide, which I actually prefer to waxing the hell out of something, because then I know kind of the texture and the feeling. Like I feel like I'm locked in and I'm pushing through something more than I'm just like getting on and like trying to balance on ice as I'm sliding across the rail. There's just some texture, like some more feeling to grinding a rail, metal on metal, than plastic on waxed anything. I really actually like it. It's something to get used to, but I really like it. These frames are 270 millimeters long. And that's for the large set. I am a big fan that they are at least that long, just because the wish frames, I believe, are 281 millimeters long. I'm just a fan of a longer frame, especially for a park frame like this, where you are doing pumps, jumps, stuff that you want to have more of a stable base when you're landing, especially if you're rolling flat, because if you're rolling flat and you got something that's shorter than this 270 base, what's gonna happen is that flat setup, you're gonna land and could get squirrely depending on where you're leaning. Your wheels will just take off on you and you'll just fall. Whereas these, you have a little more of a turning radius and not just take off sideways on you. I think they're a great balance of length. And the last pro, I just think they look super clean, and you cannot replace that sound when you're grinding metal on metal. It's just so sweet. So sweet! So next up, let's talk about the cons. The first glaring con is the fact that these things cost almost $200. They come in the States at $180 just for the frames. That's it. We're getting up there with a full set of, like a full skate setup for that price. And if you throw in bearings and wheels on top of that, you're looking $300 or dang near close. So this is not a small investment to your skating career. You really need to know if you're gonna like them and use them all the time to make it worth it. The second con I have with these frames, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a con, but hear me out. The wheel bite protection, there is a little bit of wheel bite protection on that H block. I wish it had just ever so slightly more, mainly because I was getting stuck quite a few times on my backside grinds. But what I said before, I don't think this is totally a con, because I just don't think I'm on the level of skating I need to be at to really utilize these frames and get all that I can out of them. The last con really is the fact that if you buy these frames, just realize you're sticking to parks or handrails, anything that's metal, because while you can slide on concrete if it's very smooth, very hard, and very waxed up, I wouldn't recommend it. You're just gonna destroy these frames a lot faster, and you're really not gonna slide as good as, say, putting on a nice set of plastic frames. So these are really for the park rat or someone that's super good and just hitting handrails straight up when they're going street skating. So, who are these frames for? Well, I believe these frames are for the park rat, someone who enjoys pumping bowls, ramps, doing airs, and grinding anything that's metal in the park, especially round rails and coping. So, who are these not for? I'm gonna say these are not for the street skater that pretty much only goes out and grinds on concrete ledges, basically anything that's not metal. On top of that, I don't think these are great for beginner to even intermediate skaters that are mainly park skaters and mainly grind on metal stuff. The reason I say that is because the fact that the H-block is pretty narrow. Yes, it does have a little bit of wheel bite protection, but even I found that I was sticking on a lot of backside stuff when I was on angle iron ledges. These frames are not going to be worth your money if you're a beginner to intermediate skater. So here are my final thoughts. One quick side note though, I think these are awesome and they slide really well on unwaxed metal features, but I feel like when you're doing H-block grinds, you slide a hell of a lot faster than if you're doing sole related grinds. And I feel like the reason that is, on top of the fact that you're touching more surface area on the rails you're sliding, the sole is still plastic. So, and the sole is what you're, pushing down on top of the rail and really sliding on the most anyways. So I think in order to really get the most out of a full aluminum frame system, we need to start seeing some metal adapters or metal sole plates to go with these metal frames. That way when you're hitting rails and stuff, everything that's touching the rail, no matter what trick you're doing, is all metal, and therefore sliding all equally. So really for me, I'm comparing these directly to my Wish frames because I believe the Wish frames are a great park frame because of the length, because of the wheel bite protection, because of the bigger wheels flat, to maintain speed in pumping bowls and whatnot. So what do I get in these Sola frames versus my Wish frames? I'm getting better power transfer. I'm getting to slide stuff without having to wax it up. I'm getting an amazing H-block. I can't tell you how much better the H-block is on the Sola frames compared to the Wish frames. The Wish frames are just kind of this big old freestyle thing area, which is very nice for not sticking on stuff, but for locking H-block tricks, not gonna happen. You're not gonna ever feel locked on an H-block trick. It's gonna feel like a freestyle frame. They're also lower to the ground without losing much speed. I think if you're comparing brand new wheels and bearings to both, the Wish frames are gonna actually be faster, but I enjoy that lower to the ground feeling in a narrow boot because then I can get boot down on Royales, top sides are easier, just lower center of gravity anyways when you're cruising around doing jumps is better, in my opinion. They also have a much narrower sidewall, like I talked about before. I actually, at the last park, went to a angle iron ledge and I could actually stand on my negative sole plate on my M12s with these frames on, just standing on there. I can't stand on any angle iron with the Wish frames on my M12s because there's literally no negative sole on these skates. They also have race axles, so when I'm cleaning my bearings or just swapping out my wheels, whatnot, it's just a lot faster, a lot easier, and makes me actually want to take my wheels off and clean them up instead of just letting it go because it's just a pain in the ass. And the last thing, like I said, I think they look nicer than Wish frames on your skates, and they sound absolutely amazing. That sound alone makes it hard for me to not purchase a set of these on my own. So the real question is, are these, for me, worth $180? And that's a tough question because these frames really do bring a lot of great features that my Wish frames don't offer to a park rat like myself. I personally don't feel like my level of skating is quite good enough to really utilize these to their max potential. I really enjoy the Wish frame protection. Just because I am an older skater and trying new stuff, I'd like to not have to be so accurate on my grinds and not get hurt as much. So I feel like all the features offered up on the Sola frames are more nice to have and kind of like more wants than needs. It really makes it tough for me to splurge on a set of frames when it's really not changing the game up for me all that much. It's just giving me more wants, I guess. I also feel like with the Sola frames, I'm not at the level that these frames really require to get all of the benefit out of them. And the main reason that is because of the smaller H block rolling flat and sticking on stuff. It scares me more to do backsides and topsides of stuff. That one thing alone is probably gonna keep me away from purchasing these because the Wish frames have all that wheel bite protection. If I do miss a grind just by a little bit, it's not gonna stop me on the grind and throw me and possibly get hurt. And being an older blader, I wanna take all precautions I can to keep skating and not be broken. That's more important than any of these features that these frames offer me. I do think that these frames are worth all $180. These things are solidly constructed. I mean, they are extruded out of a single piece of aluminum. You can tell that the design behind these frames before they're even etched out was meticulously crafted, and care was taken by the designer. They knew what they were doing and what kind of frame they wanted to create for the skating community. The frame is definitely for that certain type of rider, that advanced to expert either park rider or handrail dancer. Those are literally the two people that I feel are really gonna utilize these frames to their maximum potential and really enjoy them, and really $180 is nothing for such a great tool like these. So that's why I'm giving these frames a final rating of 3.75 wheels out of 4. If you guys have any questions about these frames, please feel free to drop some questions in the comments below. I will do my best to answer all those questions. I've had, a good 3 sessions on these frames, so I kind of have a good idea under my skill level of how they perform and can answer those questions for you to the best of my ability. And if you guys enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any of these videos. And guys, until next time, just keep rolling.